And a lot of the stories we have by R&B singers is that, you
Mhm.
know, it was almost like the church becomes almost like the training school
Yes.
for our superstars.
Yes.
But when you're in the environment like that, singing in choir, do you think, oh, I could be like Whitney Houston and because they started in the church and stuff,
Oh
or are
my
you just enjoying the
gosh.
singing?
Well, it's hard to like not enjoy the singing. And let me tell you what it is. I remember the first time in choir. Well, I went to LaGuardia High School of Performing Arts. That's where Sharice and I met when before changing faces. That was the quote unquote fame school in New York.
Oh, okay.
So
Was that
that's
what
where
Fame was
like
was it based on that?
based off of that school, right?
Wow.
So that's the school. So and we have a lot of alumni from like Tashina Arnold, Jennifer Aniston. I mean, I can go Nicki Minaj. I can go on and
Wow.
on. It's so many of us that went there. It just housed so many wonderful people. But I would say when you're in a gospel choir there, it's so much more intimidating to even think you're Whitney Houston or think you're, because it's so many great voices, you know, it's so many powerhouses. I mean, so you're just inspired by, you know, the person next to you. When you hear them sing, it just makes you want to sing more. And so it was a great experience. And I remember one day saying, you know, there was an audition coming up for a lead, and I was going to audition for it, but I knew like it's 500 other people in here that, you know, you know, can outsing me, to be honest, you know, in terms of gospel. You know, usually you find big voices and,
Mm.
you know, and my voice is a little more mellow and, you know, so I went to the bathroom, my knees were kind of knocking. I spoke to a couple of people, and then I went out there and I tried out for it, and I got it. And I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it, because I was like, it's so much talent in one room. It's just a blessing to be there, because what it does, it just pushes you harder, you know, to be better.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved about that school, whether it was an actor you had a friend with, a dancer, just the dedication that they had to what they were doing always inspired you to keep going. Yeah.
So so you're going through the school. When do you start to get a sense of what you might want to do as you're getting towards when you're coming out of school?
So when you're in that school, there's always an audition happening. There's always somebody always knows something, or somebody, oh, this person's looking for background singers, or this and
Oh,
that. Da, da, da. So yeah, when you're in a school like that, they're constantly on weekends after school. People are
wow.
going on auditions. They're doing, yeah. There are some people, they're in high school, but they're already in the industry. You know, they're already
Wow.
on Broadway. You understand what I mean? They're already,
Wow.
so they're just in school because we have to, we're high school kids, but there's always an audition and stuff. So Sharice and I met because I think she knew of a person that was trying to put a group together. Well, we met prior to that, but then she came and said, come on, we're going to try to, you know, I have somebody, maybe we can audition to put a group together. And that didn't pan out. So then we clicked, and from there we like auditioned for, oh gosh, what was the show that everybody was on, the big show with what's his name, the one, the McMillan man, is that his last name?
Not stars in your eyes,
Not
is it?
America's Got Talent, but it was the like America's Got Talent back then.
Yeah,
You know,
not stars in your eyes.
you know what I'm talking about, because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
Britney Spears was on there, Beyonce
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
Destiny's Child. Yeah, so we
yeah.
auditioned for shows like that. And then I think Sharice had a friend that knew that Sybil was
Sybil.
auditioning.
Oh, wow.
Yes, Sybil was auditioning for background singers. So then we went together, since we started from an initial group that we were trying to put together of 3 people. And then that didn't work out, and it was just us 2. And then we went to audition, and that's really when it clicked for me. I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, having the opportunity to tour with Sybil and go to places like the Philippines, and see stadiums filled up with people. And then even though you do it on a smaller scale, like in school or whatever, and it's amongst your peers, it's not really, like the outside world. but to get on such a major stage like that and to see the feedback, like what you give and what you get from the crowd, like how instant that is. I think that's for me when I caught the bug, you know, like I think I have to do this for a lifetime. Because even in school, I mean, remember, I was already doing it in junior high school. So it wasn't like something where, oh, I need to do this as a profession. I could have actually, you know, done it. I wouldn't say on the weekends, but I could do it as well as hustle and do other things.
Yeah.
But I think it was that moment when, you know, we were granted the opportunity, and I always say thank you to Sybil, because, you know, we were granted the opportunity to tour with her and get to see that instant, you know, gratification for what you give and what you get, was when we were like, we should try to do this. And then that's when we sought out to be a duo, and we're gonna, you know, make a demo and the rest from there.
Okay, yeah. Going back, so how long did you guys tour with, you know, with Sybil?
Oh gosh, I want to say a couple years. Probably, yeah, probably two.
Wow.
Probably two. But it wasn't all at one time. It was in and out, you know, because tours can be short. So she'll have a batch of shows here and batch of shows here. So I want to say maybe like 2 years, but while with Sybil, she had a manager at that time. And then he wanted to take on managing us as a duo. So he was like our first manager that was trying to, you know, get us a deal, because I guess that's what we wanted to do after that point. And then we went from manager to manager, and then we ended up with Shanice Carter, who's a friend who actually attended the same school that we attended. Shanice Carter and Mark Pitts, you know, Mark, he's a president of RCA now, and he was with Biggie.
Big and Puff, yes.
And they managed us when we got our deal. But Shanice Carter was was the main instrumental person to get us the deal with Kenny Smooth of Spoil Rotten, and then Mark Pitts came on, and then from there they were co-managers for us.
Okay, so when you guys were on tour, did you then start talking about we can do it ourselves as a group, just the two of us, or what was?
Yeah, you know, the one thing I tell people, and what I tell myself even now that I'm back to being in love with music, and, you know, and I just put an album out of my own, is to take in the moment, because you're going, there's going to be so many things that are blurry if you don't. And for me, I have a whole lot of blurry areas, because I think when things were happening, they were just, you know, so I can't even pinpoint to you. I can't even say, you know, this is when it happened, or that is when it just happened. And I think, but I know at that moment of touring for Sybil is when we knew that this is what we wanted to do. And that's when we acquired a manager, and, you know, and went from there. But I just fell in love with the stage at that point.
Yeah,
I did.
So 94 is when your first album came out, but then what year did you guys decide, okay, you know, we want to be a group? And especially, I wanted to be interested to see which groups were out there that you were looking at and thinking, wow, these we want to be like this, or these.
Yeah, well, for duos, well, that was, so our story was a little different, because we didn't really have a lot of duos to emulate, because there's hardly any out there. It was Peaches and Herb, and, you know, you had guys and girls, but you didn't have two girls. And at that time you had like In Vogue, and you had all the three girls groups. Even if you go back to Diana Ross and the Supremes, you know, it was more than two women, G.H.E.T.T.O.U.T, and you had SWV. And I mean, even though, you know, we were all kind of at the same time, the only two girls but they were doing R&B prior to us was probably like Salt and Pepper. You know, it wasn't anything, you know, but they were hip hop, and they're the queens of hip hop, and it's like they're out, and it's a totally different genre. So we were given a lot of flack, and a lot of doors were closed, because it was like two girls, you know. And now when you think about it, it felt really sexist, because it was like, it's not enough to look at.
Oh, is
And
that the question?
it's like, yeah. So it was like, you need 3 or more, and any groups that are really successful, they have, 3 or more members and blah, blah, blah. And that's what we faced. We faced that a lot until finally we met, we were introduced to Kenny Smooth by way of Shanice Carter. And he was getting a label with Craig Kallman for Big Beat Records. And we had, we'd done our demo, and they didn't care that it was too, they loved the music, and they loved us, and the rest is history. So you got to knock on a couple doors.
Now, as a fan back in those days, it was strange seeing two, because I know there was Terry and Monica.
Oh yeah, we had Moke and Steph. I think they were on our label too. Yeah.
So there were a few duos, but it didn't. Yeah, they were right where it says that I think we got used to the bands being 3 or 4. And
yes.
Before it used to be 5, when No Dishy came out. So that
yes.
by the time the 90s came, that was too much. We needed to be 3 or 4. So I could see where we were used to that, and I guess, but did you guys just were you ever pressured to say maybe we need to get a third member just to make it easy for us, or did you say no, we're going to stick to just the 2 of us regardless?
Yeah, well, remember when we initially met, it was 3 girls trying to get trying to do a demo. So after we already tried the 3 thing, we were like, we're good. It'll work out. Like, we're good. And we gelled so well back then. So it was like, we're good. And we just kept at it. I mean, doors would close and people would say what they say. And that's what I tell people too. Don't stop. If you believe in that, you keep going, because that's for you. And the energy between us showed. And that's why it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a great lesson, because I guess a lot of us we'll start off doing something and we're passionate about it, but we think it's not growing as quickly as that person over there who's following a particular formula, and you jump in that lane and all of a sudden it's not what you're doing, and you can't be as good as them, and you're not true for yourself, and it falls apart. And it's good that you're saying that, yeah, because I would have thought you'd be pressured.
Yeah, what you just said, when you're not true to yourself or what it is that you want to do, it will show. It will show, and it won't work. So it may take you longer. So what? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's greater, it's sweeter. But just stick to what you know in your heart you want to do, because I think it is real evident, and people can see phony, and they could see, something that you're not enjoying.